What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActionMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about The Amateur. Or for some reason, everybody keeps pronouncing it The Amateur. Cool. Cool. Anyway, click like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, join me in my cult following here on YouTube. I would like my cult following to grow, as most cult leaders would like their cult. If I get to a certain point, I get to sell you merch, and you can subscribe to something called Patreon. I've heard great things. I haven't gotten there yet. Actually, I just want to be out there because blind representation is really shitty, and it deserves to be in existence. But in the meantime, I will continue to whore myself out in whatever way possible, including reviewing The Amateur. We're going to keep pronouncing it different ways. This film stars Rami, Malek, caitrona, Balfe. I refuse to put Rachel Brosnahan in the second place spot. Laurence Fishburne, Holt McCallany, I guess Rachel Brosnahan, Michael Stuhlbarg, Julianne Nicholson, some other people. Anyway, there's a bunch of people in this movie. Jon Bernthal. Jon Bernthal's in this. And it's from the director of One Life, that Anthony Hopkins movie. This is a director that's done a ton of TV, but not a lot of feature work. And you can kind of feel that here. It feels like it's broken up sort of into like chapters, like a TV show would be. Like, this is the first episode. This is the second episode. This is based on a book, which is also something that has been previously adapted into a movie already once, but a long time ago, into a movie that I think a lot of people forgot. So there's a version of this from the early 80s. I have not seen it, but it does exist. It's worth mentioning. So if you would like to compare them, by all means. If it had audio description, I probably would have, but watching a film from 1980 something without audio description is not necessarily going to be the best comparison for me. However, this version does have audio description. It's done by Deluxe, narrated by Laura Post, and it's pretty great. It has pretty great audio description. This is sort of a little bit of a spin on the particular set of skills genre that has sort of merged into the John Wick genre. And has left us with these assassins who all sort of have their own storylines. Maybe they'll get sequels, maybe they won't. Maybe there'll be a Novocaine 2, maybe there won't. We're getting a Nobody 2 later this year. So I went into this film thinking, okay, so Disney put a decent amount of money into this. Well, it's 20th Century Fox, but whatever. They probably are thinking franchise. There might be a series of books. This could be like a Reacher thing. So people hate this movie a lot more than I did, and are angry at it for a lot of reasons that I can sort of go, well, I can explain that. So, first of all, I actually like the casting of Rami Malek because he's our character here, who is Charlie Heller. I was like, Joseph Heller, Charlie Heller. That's all I knew to remember. He's basically like an IT guy for the CIA. Like he's a computer nerd, which, I mean, it's Rami Malek. Like, the entire reason he's famous is because we fell in love with him as a computer nerd on Mr. Robot. Like, that's why he's here. So he kind of makes the most sense, but a whole bunch of people are like, I don't know, man, this movie just doesn't make any sense for him to be. But he knows that. So, like, the film, what you're gonna have happen, and this is the catalyst, so I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go into heavy spoilers here, but you need to know one thing. So his wife, Rachel Brosnahan, dies, which is why I refuse to put her. She's like second billing for some reason. She is in some flashbacks, but I mean, she dies pretty quickly, so the movie can happen. She dies in this I don't know, interaction gone wrong. It's called a terrorist thing. It's not really that. It's like a hostage negotiation thing, and some bad guys are trying to get out of a situation, and they sacrifice a hostage to prove, and she happens to be that hostage. So he uses his great skills to actually figure out who these four people are. He learns everything about them. He knows exactly where they are. Like, he has completely profiled them, using his great scope of being able to uh, be like the human version of AI. And target everybody and take into account all this stuff. Plus, he has a contact online that we don't know, that'll come into play later, who gives him some information. Some of that information is handy because Charlie ends up having to blackmail his way into some training, some passports, a gun, money for travel, all that kind of stuff. So it sets up his path, because he turns out that his boss, Holt McCallany, is doing some bad things under the table. And this is also at a time when there's it's juxtaposed, maybe not in the best way. Maybe that's why people are like confused by it, or I don't know why people are confused. I was able to follow this movie. So Julianne Nicholson's character, they're in the middle of sort of like a change politically. She even gets a scene with Holt where she's like, well, I none of the bullshit from before. And Holt's like, I'm going to say the same thing I said to the person before you and the person before that. I support you. So she's now the new head above him, and she's, all about accountability and transparency, and no more, wild missions. Meanwhile, we've got Rami Malek is running around Europe. But he does have to be trained first by Laurence Fishburne's character, who just kind of had this one, like, really ridiculous sequence where he expects Rami Malek to shoot him. I'm like, but he's not shooting you because you're not the bad guy. Like, that scene doesn't make any sense. I'll give you that. There was one scene where I was like, he's trying to prove that Rami Malek doesn't have what it takes, but in that scene, Laurence Fishburne also isn't holding a gun at Rami Malek. So he'd just be shooting an unarmed man who didn't kill his wife. And Lawrence is like, see, you can't kill anybody. It's like, no, he can't kill good people. Anyway. So Rami has to trek all throughout Europe to try to find the four people responsible, and he's going to obviously find them one by one, while being hunted by the CIA, who has completely underestimated him in terms of both his tech genius and also what ends up being capable of in the field. We do see in training that while he's awful at shooting guns, like comically awful at shooting guns, he basically has to be standing right up next to you. He's really good with IEDs. Like, he can, because there's some sort of like tech thing involved with like wires and stuff. So for him, that's a skill that he excels in, is being able to build IEDs. So he can build bombs. Not great with shooting. So he can't be an assassin that way, running up to people, and he can't scope people from, Bradley Cooper, American Sniper, Chris Kyle, yards away. He's gotta trap them somehow. He's got to figure out a way how to outsmart everybody and think 10 steps ahead. But you kind of get a feeling that this guy is really smart anyway, and that's why he got where he is. And he's got this wife that gave him like a prop plane just for like the hell of it, so that he could tackle his fear of flying. But I'm like, I don't know that me not having a pilot's license and getting up in a plane is gonna necessarily. I mean, he has to fly in a plane to get to Europe. Like, let's just be honest. Fear of flying, done. Your death caused him to tackle whatever fear he had, because there was no way for him to get from America to Europe. The plane thing is unnecessary also. It's cute. She should have just given it to him to like restore. They should have just changed it around, because he has to fly on planes anyway. So, uh, he gets to Europe, and there were four people who were part of the group that killed his wife. That Holt and the CIA is like, we can't go after them because they're part of a larger group, and it's too difficult. Take some bereavement time. They're kind of assholes. It's just really weird. I mean, you find out why later on why Holt doesn't want them taken out, but it's kind of predictable. Otherwise, like, what are we doing? Like, what is our CIA for if we can't go after terrorist groups? Because I mean, that they took out an American citizen. I feel like this is not that hard of a call. I feel like this isn't one of those like rogue things operating on like a foreign soil that is really that hard to move up the chain. So Rami's got to go do it. So he has to track down each person. And every time he's trying to get to the one who's the hardest to profile, who's the one who actually pulled the gun. So he has to work his way through the other three to get to that one, who's played by Michael Stuhlbarg in a very thankless role. But I'm also thankful to have Michael Stuhlbarg here, because Michael Stuhlbarg is also one of the best actors working right now and deserves an Oscar nomination at some point in his career. So, not for this, but I mean, like, at some point. So, if we're being real, obviously he was excellent in Call Me By Your Name, and he probably came close then, but he's somebody who definitely puts out consistently excellent work all day, every day. So, and he's already in this film opposite, Academy Award winner Rami Malek, Academy Award nominee Laurence Fishburne. So yeah, I don't mind when Michael Stuhlbarg's in things. It's kind of a waste. Also, Jon Bernthal's a waste here. And the reason why I think some of these characters like Jon Bernthal and Julianne Nicholson are here is because I think this is a franchise. I think they're trying to franchise it because these characters make sense if there's an Amateur 2 and an Amateur 3. Like, if there's more films in a series, and the way that the film ends is also very open-ended, like, there could be an Amateur 2, and there could be a reason for an Amateur 2. Like, I could see Amateur 2 being written right now. So when you see characters like that who don't necessarily have a ton of screen time, but are introduced in a way where you go, yeah, I could see you come back for the sequel and then have more to do. Some films, I think, maybe are relying too heavily on that, on the idea that maybe they'll get a sequel, but at the same time, if there's a series here, if this is like Jack Reacher or something like that, where there are a ton of books, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. So, because you want to keep the characters who are going to end up popping in later series, so that fans of the book are going to read this and go, where's that one guy? He's in every book series. Sort of like Harry Potter, if you don't introduce somebody, just because they're not in a ton of the first book, if they end up being a huge character, books, 2 through 7, I'll use Neville as an example. Could you probably have done the first Harry Potter movie without Neville? Probably. Why, though? I mean, Neville also becomes an increasingly more important character as the series grows. Does he have like a massive amount of significance in the first plot? Not really. I mean, other than tattling or whatever the thing that he's awarded the point. Anyway, he's not. I mean, that thing could have been given to another character. You didn't need the whole character, like, you could have just, there's another way to write the film. So, just like these characters, like Jon Bernthal's character does have a conversation that makes him important, but they also could have given that to another character, written that scene out. So, meh. I enjoyed the movie. Some people are like, well, is he really the good guy? Because he doesn't really seem to care about loss of life in and around these IED things that he does, like just random people. Like, he in turn sort of becomes a terrorist for his, I've heard the term selfish used for his, it's like, is it selfish to want the killers? Because if that is true, then man, we're going to have to kill a lot of films. we're gonna have to just dump a lot of films out of. I mean, wow, the whole revenge genre is gone. By the way, we just uh, I don't know that we can do it anymore. Because some people think that he's selfish for wanting to kill the people and responsible for the rogue agent terrorists. Makes him selfish. I don't know, man. I think that is definitely a hot take, but that's probably one that y'all should keep to yourselves, because there's an entire subgenre of people going after killers of blank. John Wick, when you think about how many human beings he has killed because someone killed his dog, and you're telling me you're cool with that, but this man's wife is shot in the head and he's shown the footage, and he is somehow selfish for wanting to go after. Explain. Explain your train of thought as to how somehow you've reconciled in your mind that what John Wick has done over 4 films makes him a hero or a good guy in his franchise. But in this franchise, Rami Malek is selfish. So, along the way, he's going to get help from his contact, who's going to be a surprise character. I listed a bunch of people at the top, and one of them I haven't mentioned yet. So it's caitrona Balfe, in case you're wondering where caitrona Balfe comes in. Sorry for that spoilers. You know, she's going to come into play here. And I really enjoy her as an actress. I enjoy her role, and I thought she did a great job on Outlander, and definitely in the earlier seasons of Outlander, she deserved an Emmy nomination. That series kind of overstays its welcome, if we're being really honest, at a certain point. But I mean, she's always good, even in the stuff where the series is a little bit long in the tooth. She's still amazing. So she probably deserved an Emmy nomination for some season of Outlander along the way. I don't know why we didn't. Starz seems to have a really hard time getting Emmy nominations. So yeah, and she also was in Belfast with, Jamie Dornan and Judi Dench and Jude Hill and that whole thing. That was Best Picture nominee. So again, she's a little bit like Michael Stuhlbarg, where I guess he could turn Balfe getting a nomination at some point down the line. Wouldn't surprise me. She has to be given the right role, obviously, but they're both sort of character actors that everybody agrees are excellent. They're not there yet. So is Julianne Nicholson. She's great. Her role's kind of thankless here. Jon Bernthal's been putting out a lot of great work, mostly on The Bear. So it's a solid cast. I was engaged the whole time. I really like the movie. I actually kind of like the score. It's kind of simplistic. It's not like going to be my favorite score of the year, but I did like the score. It's a tight 2 hours. I didn't feel like time was wasted. I did feel like we were going through points in the story and everything was laid out. For some reason, people want this to be more like Enemy of the State. I didn't even think of Enemy of the State while I was watching this, mainly because Enemy of the State is a lot of Will Smith and Gene Hackman together. Like, it's a lot of the two of them having to get through the situation together. But Rami's mostly on his own. He has a little bit of help from Laurence, and later on he has a little bit of help from caitrona, but he's still sort of navigating this like he's the least talented John Wick, which is fine, because we know that about him. We know that he has no skill set in the field. He has a little bit that he learned from Laurence Fishburne before leaving to go out there, but most of it is just his own ability to use tech and to just be smart and maneuver things and outsmart people. So, yeah, I think the setups and everything makes sense for his character. He tries to play things into a situation. The last one is a little bit much, because it does rest a lot on hoping that something happens so that another thing can happen. And it's really sort of, the last one really is hoping that you know the personality of somebody and making a lot of guesses that the thing is going to happen and play out the way that you think it's going to play out. Which is good for him that it does, but yeah, it is a little bit. So, did I hate this movie? Absolutely not. I was entertained. I thought the audio description was really good. Yeah, really detailed or whatever. We have some stuff where we're looking at screens, so obviously we have to have that described to us because he's a tech guy, so he looks at screens sometimes when we read off things. Although, the when he's communicating before he knows caitrona Balfe and he's trying to guess who this person is, there is like an AI voice that speaks for her, so it's not like red text on a screen all the time. Anyway, should you check out The Amateur? I think so. But then again, a lot of people seem to not like this film, but I want to stand up and say I do like this film, and I like it a lot. It's one of the films that stands out to me more this year that I'll probably remember at the end of the year. I don't know, it could be a top 25 movie for this year. I don't know where we're going with this year, but I'm not saying this film should be Best Picture, but I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I see the warts, but they don't bother me that much because a lot of films have the same similar kind of warts. If we dissect like every like-minded film, we're going to find problems. So, where a situation is like, well, isn't that nice that it worked out just perfectly for him, or I just don't get the whole like selfish thing with his character, like picking and choosing and being like, well, I don't think that is there. We'd have to take out an entire like 1,000 titles of plus of movies that are set in this revenge genre where you killed my blank, so I'm coming for you. No matter what. That's a lot of films. So either you have that take for every single film in this genre and you just think that revenge is stupid, in which case stop watching revenge movies, or you're a hypocrite. I'm gonna give The Amateur a B+. I like this movie. I had fun with it. It's good. Don't overthink it. I don't know why we go into these films like John Wick and we're like, yes, this is awesome. Oh my God, my life has been changed. And it has a lot of the same things, a lot of the crazy setups, a lot of mindless killing. But then we get into The Amateur and we're like, ugh, look at all these extra characters. It's like, have you seen the John Wick franchise? I mean, I think it's falling with extra characters. You're just like dropping out of the sky all of a sudden. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.